So I'm not really like the type to give people on the internet unsolicited advice. It's not really my thing or my style. But if it was my thing or my style, the one piece of advice I would give you is don't see this movie. Thank you so much for checking out the review. Before we get started, click on the red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new video. At one point in the 1960s, and I was not around, Tom and Jerry surpassed Looney Tunes as the highest grossing animated series. Prior to that, it won 7 Academy Awards for Best Short Film. If that was all the information you had walking into a 2021 live action / CGI hybrid, you would probably be under the impression that it would actually be a pretty good film. Well, get ready for the bad news bus to come barreling through your phone or screen, because this movie is a complete and utter disaster from start to finish. Tim Story is most well known for directing the mediocre 2005 Fantastic Four film and its slightly less mediocre 2007 sequel, Rise of the Silver Surfer. In addition to those farts, he also provided us with the 2019 Shaft sequel and Ride Along, a movie that I accidentally wandered into the premiere of when I lived in New York. There's just no way around it. All of his movies are awful. And I'm not talking funny awful, I'm talking cringeworthy, what in the world were they thinking awful. The scripts are always bad, the actors always seem to have no idea what they're doing, and the direction beyond atrocious every single time. So now that I've insulted the entire production and everyone involved with it, let's actually get into some of the nitty-gritty details. The single redeeming thing about this movie is the animation itself. It somehow manages to nail a hand-drawn look while still being in 3D. The visuals are implemented about as well as you could expect given the utter garbage that surrounds it. The animation is going to be the only thing that I praise about this movie, because it was the only thing that I didn't hate with every single cell in my body. If you watched the movie with the audio turned off and had never seen a movie before in your entire life, maybe you would enjoy this. The film introduces us to an extremely clean and very bright version of New York that makes zero sense if you have ever actually been there. It's like they took the entire city of New York, shoved it onto the set of The Truman Show, cranked the lights all the way up, opened the roof, and then sacrificed someone to the sun god so he could blast the entire thing with all the radiation in the universe. The whole introduction is punctuated by a very strange musical number from a singing animated pigeon voiced by Tim Story himself, and none of this does anything to inspire confidence in the coming train wreck. This is when the movie lost me. This is the first 30 seconds. After we get introduced to the setting, we get a glimpse into the lives of Tom and Jerry. Tom the cat is pretending to be blind and playing the keyboard in Central Park, and Jerry the mouse is trying to hustle the tourists out of Tom's tips. After this dumb sequence is over, things spiral even further out of control with the introduction of a young woman named Kayla. Chloë Grace Moretz, most well known for her awesome turn as Hit Girl in the Kick-Ass movies, plays the part of a girl just trying to make ends meet. In this instance, she, and I'm not kidding, Kayla walks into the Royal Gate Hotel, cons a woman waiting for a job interview out of her resume, and then pretends to be that woman in order to score the job. If at any point during this review the plot of the movie starts to sound predictable, don't worry. It is. Kayla is then escorted to the general manager's office where she meets the big boss and the events manager, Terrence. Based exclusively on the resume, she's given the job without actually being interviewed, because this is that kind of stupid bullshit movie. And things predictably go very wrong. You see, she gets hired on the spot without filling out paperwork or talking to human resources, because there's a massive Indian wedding happening over the weekend and it needs to go off without a hitch. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, Tom and Jerry show up at the hotel and do their best to ensure that the weekend is a complete and total mess, forcing Kayla to eventually come clean, do the right thing, blah, 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 and save the day. This exact movie has been made 1,000 times before and with far superior results. The dialogue is among the worst I've seen in any film, and hands down the worst of the last 10 years. The delivery of the dialogue is just as bad. I mean, Terrence is played by Michael Peña, and Michael Peña is funny in everything. I did not laugh at any of the dialogue in this entire movie. I might have let out 1 or 2 slight chuckles at the physical comedy routine between Tom and Jerry, but that's basically all. As soon as the shenanigans with the wedding and the awkward relationship with the bride and groom starts to get going, the titular characters get sidelined for long stretches of time. For a movie called Tom and Jerry, it very rapidly devolves into a movie called Kayla, Terrence, Preeta, and Ben. If you're wondering who Preeta and Ben are, they're the bride and groom, and it doesn't matter. Who cares? They're not funny either because nothing in this movie works. In conclusion, it's possible to make a good movie that places animated characters into the real world. Heck, it's possible to make a great movie that does just that, Who Framed Roger Rabbit being the gold standard. It is also possible to make just great animated films. Disney's massive back catalog and Pixar prove that too. Honestly, I have no idea in the world how this movie even got made. I wanted to stop in the first 5 minutes. I was desperate to stop watching after an hour, and I didn't even know there was a post-credits scene, but it doesn't matter because the movie is beyond redemption. Apparently, Tom and Jerry spent a decade in development hell, and it should have stayed there. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also like and share the video. That tells YouTube that it's worth promoting. Sound enough down in the comments. Tell me how much you adored this complete train wreck pretending to be a Hollywood film, and I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.